And I now invite Dr. Robert Battle to deliver the commencement address.
Dr. Battle, I like that. You know, the critics have been playing with my name for a long time now, right? A winning battle, plenty of battle but no scars. But now I'll say like Sidney Poitier, they call me Dr. Battle. I have to say, I am very honored to be in your presence. It was wonderful. We had a wonderful class yesterday with the seniors. They so inspired me that I danced just as much as they did, and my back hurts. But it was worth it. And on a serious note, I want to thank you, Donna, for all that you do for dance, but what you did for me as a light in a dark place. Because I want to share with you that this past tour, a month ago maybe, we lost two members of the company while on tour. One is E.J. Corrigan, who was the technical director, and Calvin Hunt, who was the head of production. And these people had been working with the company for 30 years. They were mentored by Mr. Ailey, and they had my back. We lost one Sunday in Costa Mesa. He died of a brain aneurysm, and his best buddy, who was there to help out, Calvin Hunt, the next Sunday, died of a heart attack. And when I got this call from Donna, it was probably the next day, and I couldn't understand. I'm like, what? You want to do what? But I have to say that it was that moment that you probably will find that when you're in your darkest place, the darkest night lies the brightest light. And that's the way I feel about this today. So thank you. On with the speech. Thanks for choosing the Hyatt at the Bellevue. I hope you, oops, that's my bill. That's the bill. That's not right. Okay, thank you. Theater. Keep right on going. He's fixing. This is brilliant. You see how I have all of this going on? Thank you, President Buffington, for fixing me. Fellow honorees, honored guests, faculty, staff, and graduates of 2014. I ran across this quote by Barbara Kingslover. The very least you can do in your life is to figure out what you hope for. The most you can do is live inside that hope, running down its hallways, touching the walls on both sides. Ursula Le Guin said, "It is good to have an end to journey toward, but it is the journey that matters in the end." My journey started in 1972 when I was born completely bow-legged, or as we would say, bow-legged, in Jacksonville, Florida. My mother was in a position where she could not care for me. My siblings were in foster care, and my great-aunt and uncle decided to take me in. I was 3 weeks old, or as he would say, no bigger than a loaf of bread. They got me braces for my legs, and eventually they were straightened. But with bowed legs and a shaky start, who could have imagined that dance would be my destiny? Well, I could. In fact, one of the most important things any teacher ever said to me was, pay attention. Part of the reason I always paid attention was because of my beginnings. And when you have that kind of beginning, being vigilant is something you learn quickly. Who can help me? In fact, I always say if if you don't pay attention, eventually you will pay for it. But if you do pay attention, eventually you'll get paid for it. Yeah, that's mine. Um, the journey continued. At age 4 or 5, I grew tired of Jacksonville, Florida. So, it's actually more of a serious note. My great aunt had a stroke, so we moved to Miami so that their daughter could help take care of her, help my great uncle, who I knew as my father. We moved in with Desi Williams, who admits that she was none too pleased when she found out that her aging parents had taken in an infant because she feared that the responsibility would become hers. And indeed, my great aunt, the person I knew as Mom, her journey ended in 1979. Desi Williams took on the role of mother. Now, she wanted to be an actor, but in those days, the idea of pursuing that as a career wasn't as common. So she became a brilliant English teacher. She played piano for the church, and she had a group called the Afro-Americans that did poetry and song relating to the Black experience. In fact, she was quite dramatic. Often as a child, she would wake me up in the morning. I don't know if you have this in common. She would throw open the curtains and say, "Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day, to the last syllable of recorded times, and all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Wake up, Robert." I got up. I imitated her singing, and it was discovered that I had a soprano voice. It's true. I imitated her playing piano, then they discovered I had a gift for music. I also grew up in Liberty City, one of the toughest neighborhoods in this country, so in order to protect that soprano piano playing boy, I took up karate. Karate taught me focus, taught me patience, something all of you will need a lot of. Yes, see, one of the things I learned that in order to win the fight, sometimes it's better to use brain over brawn. While a person is swinging wildly at you, let them exhaust themselves and wait for that moment where you can land one devastatingly effective blow. Well, that's showbiz. Funny enough, I never had to use my martial arts because anything I ever learned, I really went there. You know, I had to teach it. In fact, I would wear a kung fu suit in Miami in 90-something degree weather, sometimes a ninja suit with the mask. I think that was illegal. I wore that in the neighborhood. I ate my soul food with chopsticks. I was serious. And so it was either the fact that people were afraid of me or they felt sorry, but either way, they left me alone. I can't believe I'm sharing that. Anyway, then my voice changed. So this soprano, this celebrated soprano, was indeed becoming what you see today, a bass baritone. But on the way to being, the voice was a little bit creaky. And so I started imitating Michael Jackson. Don't ask me to do it, I won't. Well, maybe a little bit later. But I started imitating Michael Jackson and discovered I had a passion for dance. And then I saw Alvin Ailey's 1960 masterpiece, Revelations. We were bused, yes, go ahead, Revelations. It can change your life. As students, we were bused to Miami Beach, Florida to see a student performance. And there we were sitting in this dark edifice, this sacred womb. And then the curtain rose. I saw Revelations. I saw myself. I saw what could possibly be my future. It gave me something to hope for. It gave me inspiration. That is the one thing that never dies. And that inspiration took me from Miami, Florida, to New York City, to the Juilliard. And at Juilliard, well, I have to tell you a story about that. I got in, and then they called and told me what the bill was. And I called them and said, no, thank you. And then they called back and said, what if we gave you a full scholarship? I said, I will be seeing you. Anyway. And I'm going to say I a lot. It's not that I don't know that this is your day, but I'm just trying to relate my story in hopes that it will illuminate something in you that you recognize about yourself. I wish I could tell you that this feeling of supreme accomplishment was going to last always, but there will be dips on this roller coaster ride. Two things that stuck with me early on. Maya Angelou saying, "You will suffer many defeats, but you must never be defeated." The other thing that I always think about is sometimes you should take no for an answer. This story reminds me of, I was in choreo comp class where choreographers and composers are paired. There were about 5 of us choreographers, 5 musicians, and I got paired with a wonderful musician whose work was, let's say, atonal. To me, it sounded like if you take the drawer from the kitchen sink and then you pour it onto the floor really quickly, whatever came out became the score. Anyway, so my dance was not that good, and everyone else was told that their dance would be performed at Alice Tully Hall, but mine would not. And I tried to fight the tears because, you know, it's so devastating to hear that no. Now, what happened was the other students got so angry that they said, "We won't show our dance unless Robert can show his dance." I showed the dance. It was not a success. So sometimes, ladies and gentlemen and beloveds, take no for an answer so you don't end up with no bad dance at Lincoln Center. That's the moral. But I have to say, after that experience, I started choreographing on my own, and I never stopped. That no was the thing that gave me that little push that made me feel like, okay, I'm gonna fight this one. I'm gonna land a devastatingly crucial blow. And that's what it's all about, moving forward. Some of the virtues that have helped me: work hard, be kind, have a sense of urgency without being impatient, never lose your sense of humor and style. I believe that so many of the opportunities I've had is, yes, because I had talent, certainly because I worked hard, but definitely because I was kind and positive. Those virtues are often perceived as passive or weak. Don't be fooled. Sometimes, actually more than not, the absence of those virtues is a nail on the coffin of your desired experience. Pay attention. One of the things I found out after I got the job is that both Masazumi Chaya, who's the associate artistic director of Ailey, and Judith Jamison loved my rapport with the dancers. They loved that I had a certain positive, congenial environment when I would do work. It didn't mean that I wasn't insistent or that the work lacked tension. It's just the fact that one shouldn't use a sledgehammer where a mallet is needed. You understand? All right. It's what my teacher and mentor, Carolyn Adams, would say, and I said it to the students yesterday, and this is for all of you. No matter what you come to, imagine yourself completing the task. We do it all the time without noticing, and of course dancers thrive on that skill, sometimes without knowing the greater lesson. When you walk to a door, there is some part of you that already sees yourself on the other side of it. I'm not talking about getting ahead of oneself with unrealistic expectation. I'm talking about being grounded enough inside, and even at times slightly burdened with fear and trepidation, yet having enough courage to do it anyway. So you reach out and you turn the knob, using just enough energy to open that door without snatching it off the hinges. You move into that image of what you hope for, that vision that you hope to achieve. At times, it will be more than you could have imagined. At times, it will be less or worse than that. How you deal with the deficit and the overflow is what defines your character. It is the journey that matters in the end. Now, on the other hand, if you reach out and you find that the door is locked, call security. No, I'm being funny, but there's something to that. It is important, students, that you get to know the dean and the janitor. I'm gonna say it again. Get to know the dean and the janitor. The point is that you have to get into the building to make the magic happen, and they both have a much-needed commodity: keys. The Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater wasn't that far from Juilliard, so in the summer I would take classes at Ailey. It really was about relationship building. I got to know the director of the school, the late Denise Jefferson, Sylvia Waters, who directed Ailey 2, and every now and then I would have what I called a Judith Jamison sighting. And I'd go to a payphone. Yes, it was a payphone, no cell phones. I would call my mom and I would say, "I saw Judith Jamison, I saw Judith Jamison." And my mom would say, "That's all well and good, and I'm happy for you, but you are calling collect and money doesn't grow on trees. Goodbye." I went on to dance for the Parsons Dance Company. I was always making dances in hotel room, parks, anywhere I could. It wasn't about a job. It was a passion. And I say that to you because sometimes we wait for the paycheck. But you have to sort of make it, build it, and it will come. It was a passion that I had to mind. Often people ask me, I want to be a dancer. I want to be like your dancers. What do? I say start where you are. You're already a dancer now. Get on with it. In fact, when I first started to study, it was late, so I would give myself classes after school. And in Liberty City, most people have bars on the windows. On our front porch, the bars were inverted, so they were on the inside of the house. So I used those bars as ballet bars. And on that concrete floor, I gave myself class. It was about preparation, meeting, opportunity. And so when the opportunity came, I was ready. In fact, David Parsons allowed me to choreograph on the company, and I invited Sylvia Waters to see one of my dances on the Parsons Company, and she invited me to do a work for Ailey too, which led to Judith Jamison inviting me to do several works for the main company. My goal for each work was just to do enough job to be invited back. So imagine my surprise and joy when Judith Jamison, the lady that I so admired, the one that I would call home about, the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, the company I saw at age 12 that rocked my world and left me with that something to hope for. She looked into my eyes on April 28, 2010 and said, "It's yours." Of course, and I know you're gonna ask, did I call my mom? I would have, but my phone was confiscated because the New York Times had been embargoed and procedure had to be done before it was revealed to the world. I was so mad, and so was my mother. She's not forgiven me since. My first task was to be interviewed by the New York Times only minutes after I got the job. And one of the questions that he asked me stumped me. In fact, a lot of things in the New York Times makes me confused, but we'll talk about that later. Bless their hearts. He said that Miss Jamison has said that the part of the reason that she chose you is because of your world view. I think he said it with that kind of aplomb. What is your world view? I thought, damn, I didn't know I needed one. I said, I certainly watched The View. I love that show. It's fabulous, and Whoopi and all them. Anyway, but then I thought about my childhood and hearing my mom recite Shakespeare with the same passion and feeling that she did of the work of Langston Hughes or Phyllis Wheatley. I remembered studying Chopin and finding in the notes and the spaces between the notes of his prelude in E minor the same sense of reflection and loneliness that Nina Simone could convey with her voice, that universal truth. Years later, I came across this quote by Terence, a playwright of the Roman Republic. I am a human being, and nothing human can be alien to me. Well, what does that say about possibilities? That, for me, put the words on how I've always felt in my heart. I never want to be put in a box until perhaps I'm dead. Graduates, live your truth. Lead from your heart, from your gut. And if you find that the path you are on is not where you want to be, have enough courage to carve a new path. As much as I'm sure this is positively exciting this time for you, if I remember correctly, it's also a what the heck do I do now kind of feeling. Absorb all of those feelings. Acknowledge the euphoria over completing the task, and embrace the fear of the what's the next act reality. I say, as you move forward, know this. You don't have to have all the answers. To a certain degree, the future will take care of itself. Be present. And I beg of you, don't buy into this notion of leaving the past behind. You take your past with you. It can motivate you in many ways, sometimes as a reminder of a negative place or space you have come from, or a positive experience you have sprung from. And please be careful of this idea of finding yourself. It's about being yourself. Oh, I'll take it. As the brilliant actress Bea Richards said, you have everything you need to be successful, lacking no essential characteristic. Lacking no essential characteristic. Don't always try to reinvent the wheel. Just roll the damn thing. Yes? Roll it. Roll it. Or, as my great uncle would say, and he would stand straight up and look at me, boy, be that what you is. Don't try to be that what you ain't. Now, I have to admit, I did not understand that because I thought, if I'm poor, aren't I trying to be rich? You know, that was the way I thought about it until I got this position. And I realized that everything I had learned, everything every teacher had said to me, even if it was a no, was preparing me to be that what I is. And so here we are. As you journey on, as you ease on down that road, don't be afraid. Ease on down, ease on down. Don't be afraid to stop, look, and listen. It's the way you learn to cross the street. As a child, look left, look right, and left again. Or as Judith Jamison would say, pray, prepare, proceed. I also think of these words, and I think of it of art making. From the slowness of our hand to the quickness of God's eye, we believe in the world. And in the last analysis, if none of this helps you, just know this from this Japanese proverb. We are all fools, whether we choose to dance or not. So we might as well dance. Thank you.